Are you thinking about moving to Boise, Idaho, but you're watching all the videos, you're getting all the information, and you're starting to get a little overwhelmed because you've never been up here to the area, so trying to keep track of where all these cities, different parts of town and such, what are people like me actually talking about? This is the video for you. We're gonna take a step back and I'm gonna take you through a nice overview and just a virtual map tour using Google Earth and Google Maps and showing you kind of what is the Treasure Valley, what are the different areas, and what are some things that you really need to keep an eye on. The Treasure Valley includes Boise and all of the towns around that give you a ton of options based off what kind of lifestyle you're looking for. We're going to talk a little bit about housing options, things to do, places to see, but overall this is just going to be a nice general tour of the entire area to help you craft a little bit of context and familiarize yourself with the area just a little bit more. And this video is just going to scratch the surface on all of these areas. So if you want more information about each of the areas, what makes them great, what could be that perfect fit for you and your family, all of my information is down below. Shoot me an email and I will send you my full PDF relocation guide that has so much information on every single one of these cities, absolutely no strings attached if you want to dive in a little more. And of course, hit that subscribe button. That way you are the first to know everything you need to know about living up here in Boise, Idaho. But let's go ahead and dive right into the computer. I think a really good place to start with your overall tour of the Treasure Valley, Boise, Idaho area is to kind of define what the heck I'm talking about when I say Treasure Valley. So when you zoom out from our metro area just a bit, you're gonna see obviously Idaho, we're over here in the Pacific Northwest. This Boise area, we're actually extremely close to the border of Oregon, which comes down right here. So we're in that southwestern edge. Being in this part of town, we actually have quite a bit of foothills on the northeast side leading up to the mountains, the national forest, etc. And then on the southern side, again, we have some kind of rising topography. We have another mountain range. We got some more foothills down there. Obviously, when you put those together, this area in the center, that's going to be the big bowl. That's going to be the valley. When I say the Treasure Valley, though, for the context of this video and most of the videos on my channel, we're really going to be focused in on the Boise Metro area itself, though. So when I say Treasure Valley, we're kind of starting over here on the eastern edge with Boise. Then we're coming around on the southern edge and we're going to talk about Kuna. We're going to come around Lake Lowell with Nampa and then Caldwell on the western side, Middleton, Star, and Eagle on the north, and then there will be small little communities kind of up here in the foothills and heading out towards Emmett. But that's really the main heart of the Treasure Valley that I like to focus on and really what I'm sharing. All the surrounding areas, a lot of cool things, but we'll get there if that's something that you're interested in. A couple things that I like to highlight while we're zoomed out is if you do kind of continue out and you look up here to the northeast, you're gonna find all of the mountains. You're gonna find the Sawtooth, Boise National Forest. If you continue up north on Highway 55, you're gonna start to see all of our little mountain towns with Cascade. You're gonna have Donnelly, McCall. Over here, you're gonna have Garden Valley. For proximity's sake, to give you a little bit of a frame of reference, to get from Boise over to Garden Valley, so you kind of head up this way and then around, that takes just over an hour, hour and a half if there's some traffic. To get from Eagle, where we live, up to Donnelly, where we have a family cabin, it takes us about an hour and 40 minutes. So it's very, very accessible, but it is a little bit more outside of town than some of the other activities that you'd want to do. And of course, if you start to look over here, you really get to see all the great nature that Idaho can offer you. On the west side, even though we're developing like absolute craziness, over here, all the gray, good old development, you're going to see that centralized in the cities. You are going to see a ton of brown. That's kind of the undeveloped land, the stuff that's coming next. But we do still have on this western side of our valley quite a bit of green farmland. This can be super cool if you're into that kind of Idaho vibe. That's really what you're looking for when you think of rural Idaho. But it's also just nice. I talk about it a little bit of the diversity of the different type of nature experiences, I can't think of the right word, that you can find yourself here in the area. So farmland, very different than foothills, mountains, even some of the more flat land out here in Kuna. So to get into the meat of this video, really what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a general overview of the Treasure Valley. We're going to talk about some of the housing options, of course, but I want you to get familiar with the things that you can do, the main areas of town that you're probably going to be focused in. I'm going to point out some things like medical care. Where are you going to go if you need a hospital? What about shopping? All of these different things from different points of the valley, just to give you a general frame of reference. I want to warn you, this is not the video where I'm going to dive completely into the weeds on exactly what Eagle has compared to Meridian and Boise. Those will come in subsequent videos. I have a few on my channel, so be sure kind of check those out if you want to get to that information. But after I do this one as the general, I'm going to dive into each one. So if there's a city in particular that you really want to know more about, drop a comment down below and I'll kind of throw that one to the top of the list. But to get started, we're going to start with the hub of our entire state, but of course of the Boise Metro area. Let's talk a little bit about Boise. So Boise is going to be that capital city of Idaho. It's the largest city that we have. When we're looking at the boundaries, Boise really is all of this area, and of course it extends out a little bit, but this is where the majority of the population will be. So inside of that, just like the most metro areas out there, you're going to find, as I head over to the map side, you're going to find that in Boise there's all of these little kind of neighborhoods, boroughs, communities, however you want to call them, and they're going to be very distinct depending on what you're looking for. So the bench and all of the benches in here are going to be very different than southeast Boise. West Cloverdale, West Boise, and then southwest kind of Ada County, southwest Boise. Those are going to be much more of that traditional suburb living that you're going to find in Meridian, Eagle. When you start to zoom in and you see everything kind of around downtown, obviously downtown, you're going to find condos, you're going to find downtown living. You're not going to find big driveways in the middle of the downtown. But up here to the north, this is where you're going to find the north end, then you're going to find the east end, and guess what? We also have a west end. So there's some similarities with these, but there's also some things that would draw you to certain areas that are different than others. So to give you a high level overview of Boise and some of the things that you're going to want to look out for, of course, one of the main features of our entire area is the fact that we have got the Boise River running all the way through the majority of it and actually out past Star, and it actually goes out towards Middleton, etc. But along this section from around Barber Park and actually a little bit past that, going all the way through to about Star, you're gonna have the Boise River Greenbelt. So this is a great thing. It runs on both sides. It's about 25 miles long. You're gonna be able to bike, you can go out for a run, a walk. It's a great thing to do on the weekends, but with it being right in the heart of downtown, it's also a really cool place to go out for a walk on your lunch break. Maybe you wanna get out for a run after work, but you don't want to actually have to escape into the foothills to do something and you don't want to run around just buildings in downtown. You can do this. It's just right there for you. Some of it's paved, some of it's dirt, gravel. Really cool thing. As you zoom into downtown though, you're going to see that it is our quote unquote urban area. So it definitely is a capital city, but compared to some of the larger urban areas that you all might be used to, it is not much. You're going to see that our skyline here is not anything to write home about. There's only a few buildings kind of right in the heart of downtown. We do have a couple of larger like condo buildings with some retail that are starting to pop up, but our downtown is pretty minor. All of that to be said though, this is kind of that cultural hub of our area. So when you start to zoom in, you're going to see that this is the place where right here, you're going to have Grove Plaza. So they did a good job and they got the vision here during the Saturday market. This is where you're going to see all of these different booths kind of around. It's going to run down onto 8th Street and it continues. This last year, it was actually bigger, so it goes this way. Sometimes they do it more at this intersection, but it's a really nice central part of town. So if you're in town and you're visiting and you're not sure where to go, there's a lot of really cool hotels down here. You're gonna have the Inn at 500, you're gonna have the Grove, Hotel 43, some nice options. But if you really just wanna go out to dinner, you wanna grab a drink, this 8th Street area is a fantastic place to start. So obviously you can see that this isn't a kind of main thoroughfare road. They changed this probably about, goodness, it's probably been 7 to 8 years ago now, but it used to just be another road, 8th Street, just like all the others. They really wanted to make it a little more walkable and a little more friendly for people as they're exploring downtown. So they made it to where delivery vehicles and stuff can still get in their bikes, but it is just more of that plaza setup. So all these restaurants, especially in the summer, they'll extend their patios out. There's a lot of cool places here. Fork is right here. You're gonna have Eureka, got a couple of coffee shops, just a nice central location to go out and explore. One cool attraction that if you're in the area, it's a nice thing to see and it's Instagram postable for sure, is you're gonna have Freak Alley right here. So we're still in the heart of downtown. As I zoom out, this is the Boise River up here, so we kind of flipped around. But Freak Alley is gonna be kind of what you see on here. This doesn't do a great job, but I should have a couple of shots to show you. Freak Alley is exactly what that is. It's an alley kind of tucked behind some of those cool spots, and it's gonna have all sorts of murals and paintings and such. that are done by only local artists. So for the most part, there are some staples in there, but it'll change every so often. So you can kind of go down there and see something new. Freak Alley is just a cool thing that you don't always hear about. Outside of that, you're going to have the Capitol here in the center. And then as we get familiar again, back with north, as you zoom out, right here outside of downtown, you're going to have Boise State University. So this is our large state university. The big things here is this is going to bring a lot of energy to this area. So these neighborhoods around are going to be filled with a lot of rentals. A lot of students will live here, teachers, staff. It's close proximity. The big thing here, though, is a reminder that in our area, we do not have pro sports teams. So Boise State athletics is a massive, massive thing out here. Football, basketball, they've got so many different sports. Go out, experience it at least once, and you'll see why people have a pretty fierce loyalty to them. River running right through downtown, of course. And then the next area that I always like to show is right outside of downtown. If you head north, you're going to find yourself in the North End. Clever name, right? So if you look at the North End, you're going to see that as you zoom in, it's going to be just outside. So all of the kind of commercial, kind of downtown urban feel buildings, those are going to stop right about here. Here you're going to have some sort of mixed use, old homes that are now businesses, etc. But as soon as you cross over into here, this is all going to be more of residential. So it's going to have that urban suburb vibe. So it's going to be kind of craftsman style homes. You're not going to have a ton of driveways. It's not going to be that classic thing. The cool part though with the North End, this is one of our most desirable areas in the entire valley. People love it down here. Because of that, people have moved there for a while and they've actually renovated a ton of the homes. So you're not going to have kind of that, I don't have a better way to explain it than that dirty kind of just outside of downtown neighborhood feel. Everything here is extremely well taken care of. There's been a ton of renovation. People have really kind of re-upped their properties, but the North End has a really strict historical association. So they've also done a good job though, keeping that original vibe and character that people fell in love with. So you're gonna have brand new homes that are gorgeous, but they've kept some of the facade and charm that was already there to begin with. So it's a nice little balance. In the North End though, there's a couple of attractions outside of living there. So you're gonna have Hyde Park right here. There's gonna be some good restaurants. It's just like this little 2-block thing in the middle of the North End. Certified Kitchen and Bakery, highly recommend. But if you're looking for a little thing for the kids or just yourself, it's good. Goodie soda fountain here, old school kind of soda fountain candy shop. Really cool thing to check out. As you continue down, you're gonna find yourself in Camel's Back Park. So Camel's Back Park is right here. You're gonna have a big playground, some tennis courts, but the main thing is you've got this incline that you can run up if you would like to get some exercise, but this is also a great way to kind of get out into the trail system. So you'll see that it takes you back to Hulse Gulch. You'll have access to all of the fun back here. When I'm talking about the hiking, the Greenbelt and such right after work, etc., Camel's Back Park, Military Reserve, Hillside to Hollow, these are big, big attractions because you can get from, for example, I worked at Boise State University before I got into real estate. I could work here and I could drive over, do a hike and everything at Camel's Back Park, and it took me just about 10 minutes, depending on how you hit lights, to get all the way over there. That's fantastic because it doesn't take your whole night to get to nature. And real quick, before we hop away from the North End, I always like to point out Harrison Boulevard. So Harrison Boulevard is going to be kind of one of those streets that we have in our area. Every place has them that people know by name. The main attraction here is if you've got some kids, Easter, Christmas, Halloween, they do some killer celebrations down here. Halloween in particular, absolutely great place to go down and all year round. It's a nice tree-lined street. It is one of the more prestigious and popular streets that we have in our area. Outside of the North End, you're gonna have some similar feels in the East End, and then the West End as well is gonna be a little bit closer to the river, but you're gonna get that same feel. As you start to look at all of these other neighborhoods, if you wanna get up into the foothills, so you're gonna have the Highlands up here, you're gonna have Quail Hollow. As you come down towards Barber Valley in southwest or southeast Boise, excuse me, you're gonna come down this way and you're gonna find Barber Valley, but you're gonna find that Warm Springs Mesa. You're gonna have Harris Ranch down here, but overall it's a very, very different feel because now you're getting out into more of that suburb living. But here in this part of Boise, you're getting suburbs, but you're also getting all of the cool amenities. So you're sandwiched on this part of town, right between the foothills. So you have all the amenities and stuff there, but you also have the river and greenbelt right here. So Harris Ranch is a large master plan community. They still have a big kind of town center that they're planning on doing, but that's really what makes that area of town so desirable, especially if you're into the outdoors. And then out here, you're also gonna have, right here, you're gonna have Columbia Village, which is kind of the first big master plan community that we had out here in the area. They've got this big sports complex, they've got a rec center, they got a school. Columbia Village is one that especially young families absolutely love. Micron's gonna be out here, one of our larger employers, and then you're gonna have the Boise Airport. So right in the heart of downtown, you can get to the airport. I won't get off on a tangent, but our airport is absolutely fantastic right now. You don't have to get there super early, moves pretty quick, and we continuously are adding more and more kind of direct flights to different parts of the country, which is huge. Back to the map, just to give you kind of a quick glance. So you're gonna have, like I mentioned at the beginning, this part of Boise is gonna be kind of just West Boise. This is gonna have a very similar feel to Meridian that we're gonna talk about in a second. And the reason for that is it is much more just classic suburb feel. So you're gonna start to see a lot of driveways, a lot of kind of platted lots. But the nice thing that I like to point out about West Boise compared to some of the stuff in Meridian and then some of the stuff down here in Southwest Boise, it is much more established. So the communities are gonna have less of that sterile new construction vibe. You're gonna get larger trees, you're gonna get more mature landscaping. There are some hidden gems in here that people just absolutely love. As you zoom out though, you're also gonna see that on the edge of Boise, kind of that delineator between Meridian and Boise is gonna be Eagle Road, shooting right down here. This is one of the busiest roads that we have in the valley. The busiest intersection I think in the state is actually right here at Fairview and Eagle. The village at Meridian is gonna be right there. You're gonna have all sorts of commercial and such down Fairview. This portion right here off of the highway, this is actually gonna be where St. Luke's, one of our large hospitals, is at. While I'm on the subject, you do actually have a St. Luke's right here in downtown as well. Just roughly, there it is, right there. So those are gonna be two of your big hospitals. You're gonna have a St. Al's right here off of the connector. So hospital, 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 and then you're gonna have some more out towards Nampa. But when I'm talking about Eagle Road and such, this is gonna be your main attraction if you're looking for places to go out and eat, places to stay if you don't want to stay in downtown. All of the shopping, you're going to have your furniture store, you're going to have some of those chain restaurants, you're going to find your home goods, you're going to find your Albertsons. Everything is here in the middle of Eagle Road. So it's a cool place to be. It's a nice place that most of you are probably going to end up at some point, but it's also a very busy area that you might want to plan for during that first commute. While we're talking about Eagle Road, let's just hop over to the next area that I want to kind of highlight. Let's talk about Meridian. So Meridian is going to be the largest suburb of Boise. Roughly, the boundaries that we're going to be looking at is kind of extending out this way. It's roughly going to go to there, and then it kind of starts to, you're going to see Boise and Meridian kind of zigzag around Eagle Road there, and then it's going to come down here. All of this is considered Meridian. Now, when we're talking about Meridian, a lot of times you're going to hear people say two things. You're going to see people saying North Meridian, and then you're going to see people saying South Meridian. I don't know why you just got balloons. But that's really the delineation with Highway 84 here. So anything north, North Meridian, South Meridian. Very quick rundown. I got a full video on my channel, so check it out if you want to learn more about the different parts. But very quick breakdown. Everything here in North Meridian, a lot more established. So you're gonna have access to all of the Eagle Road stuff. You're gonna have downtown Meridian, everything on the highway. Anything that you need, you are gonna find in North Meridian. You're also gonna find a lot more completed developments. So if you like more of that mature neighborhood feel, there's gonna be some good options for you. Couple big popular ones. We're going to have Paramount here in North Meridian. Going to have Spurwing tucked back here, which is a golf course country club community. You're going to have a lot of little tiny ones that really do just give you that suburban feel. The cool part with it being a little bit more established is you have the landscaping, of course, but you're also going to have various different levels of neighborhoods, price points, etc. And comparing that with everything out here in South Meridian, you're just going to see that there is a lot less development that is already done. I am of the belief though that over the next couple of decades, South Meridian is the place to be if you want to be ahead of the curve. There is so much that's going to be going out there that it is just a very, very exciting part of town. But as of right now, you're kind of going to make a trade-off. So obviously looking here, this is kind of that portion of Meridian that I talked about. This is North Meridian here. On the southern edge, you're going to see the exact same stuff. Again, just to get your bearings, this is roughly the portion of Meridian that we're talking about, north on this side, south here. But just when you're looking at the two, you're going to see there is not much in North Meridian that isn't developed. Developers and builders are really having to pick very specific parts of town to try and squeeze some developments in. And you compare that down here with all of this space in South Meridian, there is a lot to come down here, both on the residential side, so large communities, but we're also going to start to get more services. There's a little section out here towards Pinnacle that's actually going to be a new Costco. There's a lot of really cool things. So if you don't care as much about the mature neighborhoods and the options and having to drive potentially 10 minutes to get to something versus 5 minutes and having something right down the road, South Meridian could be very, very exciting. We're going to have a couple of large developments here, and I won't get too into them, but you're going to have Pinnacle. You're going to have some newer stuff popping out here. It's just a place of town that I honestly think you should take a look at. When we're talking about those services and the restaurants and everything that you're going to need, there's a few main areas in Meridian. So obviously, you're going to have Eagle Road, the Village. Not going to get too into those. Downtown Meridian is going to have some good stuff off of the highway. So the three exits are going to be Meridian Road here in the center. You're going to have Eagle Road, and then you're going to have 10 Mile. Those are the three highway exits. And on the northern side of each of those is going to be quite a bit of stuff. So you're going to have everything off of Meridian, a Home Depot. You're going to have Taco Bell, all the chain restaurants, etc., going straight into downtown. I've already talked a little bit about Eagle. But then if you come over here to 10 Mile, this is a part of town that already looks a lot different than it does here on the map. So when we're looking at 10 Mile, let's just go back here because it'll have some of your things already moved. When you get off the highway, there's really two main developments. You're going to have this one here, which is called 10 Mile Crossing. So you're going to see there's a Shields that was just installed. There's all sorts of restaurants, car wash, Chick-fil-A and such over here. Now over on the other side of 10 Mile right here, so to get your bearings, this was that Shields, this was that grocery outlet. This is a little out of date. But this large plot of land, it's actually going to be the district at 10 Mile. So this is the same developers that did the Village at Meridian. So you're going to have, if you're not familiar with the Village, it's kind of a really good place to go. It's an attraction here in Meridian. You're going to come in here, you're going to see, it's kind of our outdoor shopping area. So there's going to be all sorts of different shops, restaurants. You got Kleiner Park off to the side. You got this nice little courtyard, fountain and such in the center, movie theater. The same exact developers are the ones that are going to be doing the district at 10 Mile. Now, a lot of this stuff isn't going to come until closer to kind of 2026. So there's some stuff that's a little bit TBD, but that's going to be right off the highway. When you come back off of the highway, in North Meridian, there's going to be a couple of main areas. So you're going to find your Costco and such right here. This here is Orchard Park. Then if you shoot down, into South Meridian, kind of to do that comparison, eventually right down here in Pinnacle. So Pinnacle is going to be a really large development down here. They're kind of trying to turn it into their SoMe district. In this area, that's where that new Costco is going to be. There's going to be stuff eventually, but right now you're kind of limited on what you need. There is a new Albertsons right here. There's a couple of coffee shops and stuff that have kind of popped up, but this part of Eagle Road has a very different feel than the northern edge. But let's go ahead and stay on track and let's shoot north into Eagle a little bit. I got to remind myself that this is a general video. I don't have to show you every little thing, and frankly, there's too much to show you that I can't in one video. So Eagle up here, this is going to be another suburb outside of Boise. For comparison's sake, Eagle is going to be a pretty popular one. You're going to hear the name a lot, but when we're talking about population, Meridian is going to be roughly 130,000 people. Boise, going to be closer to that 250,000 people. Eagle is going to be closer to 40K. So it is a much, much smaller city than some of these other ones. With that being said, it is also a much smaller footprint. So there are some kind of congested portions. When we're looking at Eagle, we're kind of looking here where it meets Meridian, chinned in kind of right by the river. It's going to come around Highway 55 going up is going to separate it from Boise. It kind of turns into something else here in the foothills, and then it's going to follow Highway 16 down, which is going to be Star on the east or the west side, and then Eagle on the east side. Eagle, its main calling cards are it is a very, very appealing city and zip code to be in. So it does have a little bit of that ooh kind of wow factor. But there's two main things that draw people here. One, if you want to live close to the river, Eagle is going to be one of your best options. Obviously, the river is only where the river is. Going through the middle of downtown, there's just not as much place to really build these larger homes around. Whereas this portion of town, people did a really good job developing it out and having larger home sites. You have some of those more luxury homes. There's going to be a few really cool communities to point out. A few that I always like to kind of highlight, and feel free to write down some notes. But you're going to have Lakemore tucked back here. Mace River Ranch is going to be over here. You're going to have Banbury all around this kind of golf course. Then you're going to have Williamson River Ranch. You're going to have Rivers End. There's a ton of cool communities, but if you want waterfront living, you have a healthy budget, you want a nice home, a little bit more private, but that mature landscaping, this portion of town is very, very hard to beat. Outside of the housing around the river, there are a couple things that I always like to point out in Eagle. First, little bit of context. I live in Eagle right now. I absolutely love being out here. There are a few things that drew us to it, but I think that it's one of the better places that you can live in the valley. So when we're talking about things to do and restaurants and such, you're gonna see that the proximity to Meridian is very, very close. You are just outside of it. But if you don't want to go to Eagle Road and you don't want to mess with that, we do have a couple of parts here in Eagle. So the big intersection that we have is right here at Eagle and State Street. That's a very busy intersection. When you just go off, you're going to find Old State Street here, and you're going to find some nice kind of commercial restaurants and such as you're driving down. A couple places that I always like to highlight, Rembrandt's, very nice little brunch breakfast place. You're going to, as you come down here, you're going to have Baquette's, a really cool French cuisine place. On this side, you're going to have Bardonnay, that kind of takes you down towards the river. There you go. You're going to have Bardonnay over here, but you're also going to have Coins right here, which is one of our favorite restaurants in the valley. If you come down a little bit more, you're going to have Crave Kitchen and Bar here. You're going to have a movie theater. There's a lot of cool stuff that's just outside of your door. One thing that you're going to notice here in Eagle compared to Meridian. So Eagle Road, if you kind of shoot down it, let's see if I can get the right zoom in. You're going to see a lot of familiar names. You're going to see Chili's. You saw Lowe's, Culver's, Dave's Hot Chicken. As you continue down, you're going to see Chick-fil-A. You're going to see Noodles and Company, Chipotle, etc., etc. The chains love Meridian and Eagle Road. You are not going to find those here in Eagle. So you are going to have a couple of fast food joints. We do have McDonald's, but you're going to find more local places that are kind of one-offs, which for me is a lot cooler. So Schnitzel Garden, nice little German place down here. A couple of our newer restaurants are going to be down here with Coa Del Mar. Best coffee shop that we have in Eagle, or I guess top two, Jovino's. And then the other one that I always like to take people to is right in here, Cavista Coffee. We have a couple of newer ones coming. As you come out towards Highway 55, you're going to see that there's a couple of little commercial areas out here. But for the most part, Eagle's going to have some stuff in the center of it, but it's not going to have as widespread of options as Boise for sure and Meridian. One thing that you're going to know about Eagle, though, is there is a lot of new construction. So as you start to get out, especially to this northwestern edge of Eagle, you're going to find a lot of new developments. So a couple are, you're going to have Legacy here, which has all of these little man-made lakes. They're going to have the golf course. You're going to have Homestead right here. Stag's Crossing is filling in here, really large lots, new homes. TerraView, same developers as Legacy, but that's going to offer you some more of that. And then one that I'm really excited about, and they actually do have this portion updated, is this is Valnova. So this is going to be a really cool, huge 15, 20, 25 year project into the foothills here. And it's a place that if you want to be in that next big community, highly recommend. But there are a couple of things that I don't love about Eagle, and this isn't a pros and cons, but there's some things that I want you to know. So first, Eagle Island State Park, $7. You can go in there. You can tube in the winter. You can horseback ride. You can do, there's a river going through it. There's places to fish. There's a zip line, a lot of cool things. But when we're looking at Eagle, my biggest gripe as somebody who's lived here for a couple of years now is Meridian and Boise. Even though they can be busy, there are so many different ways to get around. They have that grid set up, so you can always find an alternate route if you need to. With Eagle, if you need to get to the highway or to Meridian, you are stuck with Linder right here, Eagle Road, or you have to shoot all the way down here into Boise on Glenwood. This right here is Highway 16, so it goes here. We do have a massive expansion. So this highway is actually going to eventually connect to I-84, but we're not sure if that's going to happen over the next year or so. You're going to see that even this road here, that's an update. They're kind of starting to do it. It's going to have an overpass. That is going to be crucial for this part of town, because to get from around here and getting around Linder and having to come in, if this is backed up at all during rush hour, it can be a little bit of a nightmare. So just something to kind of keep in mind. Getting from Eagle though, and getting into downtown Boise is a breeze. Hopping away from Eagle, let's talk about Star. So we're going to get into some of the more surrounding areas. Star is very, very similar to Eagle on the housing front. For median prices, you're really going to see that on the whole, everything on housing is going to be more expensive the closer you get to downtown. So Boise is going to be more expensive than Meridian, which is going to be more expensive than Kuna, which is going to be more expensive than Nampa, Caldwell, etc. Eagle is going to be the highest median price point that we have, so it is definitely the most expensive. Meridian's going to be behind it by a little bit, and then Star is going to be right between the two of them. The reason for this is all that separates Eagle and Star. A lot of the same types of communities and people that were interested in Eagle were okay jumping in right here. So you're starting to see a lot of new development out here towards the river that's kind of trying to emulate what they did down there in those kind of luxury communities that I pointed out a little bit earlier. Star on the whole though is a very, very small town. So you're going to see here that even as some of this development has happened, there is not a lot in Star quite yet. It is growing like crazy, but Star is one that was a little resistant to that development. So they said no to a lot of things, and now they're having to kind of catch up. I won't get too much onto a soapbox, but growth is coming to a lot of these areas, whether we want it to or not. So let's go ahead and stay ahead of it and do the roads. Let's do the infrastructure, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So when you're looking at Star, this is the area that if you want some of the benefits of living close to Eagle and Meridian, but you want to be separated just a little bit and have a little more of that small town living, Star could be something that is extremely appealing to you. They got a couple of cool places downtown. So a couple of places that I always recommend you check out. Star Riverwalk Park. This is a pretty new park down by the river right here. Then as you head up Star Road, you're going to be into downtown Star. Star Country Cafe, really good little breakfast joint. You're going to have Ridley's here, one of the grocery stores. But the place that I always got to point out, let's see how close. Sea Salt Creamery and Bake Shop. I will stop with Star right here. This is the #1 destination for you to go to if you're visiting Star. Absolutely the best desserts that we have in our valley. Phenomenal. As you come out though, you are going to see, let's see if I can see it on the Google Earth, kind of around this river is where they're trying to emulate some of that same kind of luxury neighborhood back here. So you're going to have Star River Ranch, River Park Estates. There's a lot of really cool options. If you're okay with being in a little bit more of that small town and driving an extra 10 minutes to get to things, you can get some very similar things in Star that you would in Eagle for about 10% less. So there is a nice discount for it. You're just having to kind of sacrifice, similar to that North Meridian, South Meridian dynamic. As we get out into Canyon County, so what I just went through, that was basically Ada County. We have two big counties here, and they're all separated roughly, let's just throw it in here. Parts of Star are Ada, parts of Star are going to be Canyon. So Canyon County is going to be Middleton, you're going to have Caldwell, you're going to have Nampa, parts of Star. Ada is going to be Eagle, Meridian, Kuna, Boise. As you head out into Canyon County, there is a lot of similar stuff, but there's also a very, very different feel. Focusing in on Nampa and Caldwell. So Nampa is going to be the third largest city that we have in our entire valley. There are some cool things that Nampa has to offer. They have a pretty robust downtown. You're gonna see a ton of industrial out in Nampa. They got a couple of nice public golf courses here, Centennial and Ridgecrest. This portion of town here, like I mentioned, a lot of new development coming up. There's some cool opportunities here if you like Meridian, but you want to be a little bit further out. You want a little bit of that discount getting into Canyon County. Some cool things here. But as you're looking at Nampa, Lake Lowell is down here. You're also going to have a couple of cool things inside of town. Wilson Springs Ponds is located right in the heart of town, and there's just all these little trails. It's this little nature preserve. right in the middle of all of these subdivisions, just a nice little escape. As you zoom out a little bit, if you're looking for new construction, you like the feel of some of the more upper scale neighborhoods that you're finding in Meridian, Eagle, and Star, looking out in this southern edge of Nampa, you're gonna find some of those. That's where a lot of the new construction has happened. You're gonna have a lot of established neighborhoods in kind of this central portion, and then right here is more that downtown feel. If you're looking for homes that are on larger lots, so we have some cool new subdivisions popping out more in kind of this part of town. Osprey Estates, Waterbury Estates, you're gonna see that they're on acreage home sites, but they're brand new construction. It's still a subdivision setup, but it's much larger. You're gonna have some space from your neighbors. Heading over into Caldwell, there's gonna be a lot of the similar things. Caldwell is a smaller town that is kind of starting to grow. Indian Creek Plaza, highly, highly underrated. All throughout the year, it is fantastic. They have this nice little courtyard here, but you're also gonna find that they have the creek running through. This during the winter, they do this whole winter wonderland. This is the best lights display that we have. So definitely check it out. Hopefully you're seeing a couple of clips right now, but it is a very cool place. As far as restaurants and such, in Indian Creek Plaza, you're gonna have a couple of cool spots. So Amano, absolutely fantastic. It is nationally acclaimed, fantastic Mexican restaurant. Grit 2C, highly recommend if you're out there. Flying M, one of our favorite coffee shops. They got some locations all throughout town. As you start to come out this way though, Nampa's here, right in the center here, right off the highway. You're gonna have one of our larger commercial areas in the entire valley. This is gonna be Karcher Road. So Karcher Road, when you can kind of see some of it, this is where you're gonna find a lot of the big box stores. You are gonna find a Costco. Right here, you're gonna find a Target. You're gonna have all of these different things that people kind of look for. Very, very similar to Eagle Road, just more out towards the Canyon County area. Think of it kind of as an Eagle Road mixed with a kind of typical mall that you would see. So that's really where you're gonna find a lot of those commercial things out towards Canyon County. Regardless of where you're living in the valley though, there are a couple things that are gonna take you out to Nampa and Caldwell. So right here off of the highway, you're gonna find Ford Idaho Center. This is one of our bigger concert venues that we have. So they have an indoor arena, of course, but throughout the summer, they actually have a large amphitheater. So hopping over into the Google Earth, you're gonna see that this right here, the Ford, that's gonna be the arena. And then you got this large amphitheater here with all sorts of grass seating. During the summer, you can actually see them setting up one of the concerts now. This is all standing room, but you're gonna have all sorts of food trucks. This is a really cool place. You're gonna find concerts every single weekend out here. You can kind of see a little bit of the logo here, but the other thing that's gonna take you out into Canyon County is rodeo season. So in Ford Idaho Center, we have the Snake River Stampede, which is a very famous high kind of energy rodeo, a lot of cool events. But then out towards Caldwell, when you get off and kind of towards College of Idaho and such, you're actually gonna have the Caldwell Night Rodeo right here in that Caldwell Bowl. Really cool little rodeo. Again, what's more Idaho than rodeo season? Another thing out in Caldwell is if you come out towards Sunny Slope, there is a whole country wine row here. They have the Snake River. They have a lot of the same climate stuff that some of these portions out in Oregon do, and they do some great wine. So there's gonna be a couple that you can go and check out, but just plug it in, Sunny Slope Wine Trail, and you're gonna find that it's gonna take you out to all sorts of places. St. Chapelle, one of the most famous, they do a whole concert series during the summer. Sawtooth Winery. If you just kind of start to go out, you're gonna see that there is a lot of cool stuff to see out here. But to go ahead and wrap up and touch on the last areas, Kuna is gonna be out here in the south, southern edge of Meridian. So you're gonna see that Meridian and Kuna kind of meet right here. This is a nice small town. If you want that more rural living, Kuna is definitely worth checking out. You also have very good proximity into Boise that sometimes people do forget. And then out here, if you want somewhere that has a little bit more space, you like even smaller of a town, we're talking 5 to 10,000 people, but you really, really want that larger lot, that's where you're gonna wanna head out towards Middleton. So Middleton is kind of an up and coming area. It is growing fast, just like everywhere, but you're gonna see that these home sites out here are just a different level. If you need an acre, you want a half acre, but maybe you don't want to spend $2.5 million to be in kind of the northern Eagle portion, which is kind of out here. You can find some of these similar home sites and such for a half the cost out in Middleton. Whew, there you go. You can't say that I didn't give you all of the information that you could possibly want. This is why a few tips that I have when you're making your move up to the area is get out and actually explore. That first visit, don't worry about the houses. Finding your home, that's the easy part. Go around to all of these different areas. There's a lot of different places here in the Treasure Valley for you to explore, and it's hard enough doing it on a map like this. Just imagine being out here. So take some time, decide on where you want to live, what's important to you, what do you want your commute to look like, what sort of restaurants and shopping and medical access, those things that you need, and then use that to narrow in your search. And like I said, aside from some of the tangents, that was just a general overview of the Treasure Valley. In some videos coming up, I'm gonna break down each of those areas a little bit more in depth to help you familiarize yourself even more. So if there's any neighborhoods that you want me to cover first, drop that down in the comments and I will put that up towards the top of the list. But until then, make sure you hit that subscribe button. That way you're the first to know everything you need to know about living up here in the Boise, Idaho area. Watch one of these videos that's popping up, and I'll see you all on the next one.